Welcome to the Accepted Authority, where we help you solve a common consulting growth challenge. I'm Andy Marmont, and with me, as always, is Greg Rowith. G'day, Greg.
Hi, Andy.
So today we're going to talk about when we don't have enough time for marketing. That's a big problem for a lot of consulting firm owners, particularly when we're at that size where we've got, say, 5 to maybe 30 staff. We're so involved in delivery, we're running around and we're just thinking, well, marketing and business development sometimes gets pushed to the side. But as we know, it's so important, we need to be able to focus on doing activity that's going to get us long-term and short-term results. So I thought today, let's talk about how do we overcome that challenge? Oh, I've got no time. I'm stuck in my business and marketing falls in the wayside. How can we make sure that we create time to focus on building our business from new business, not just referrals? So Greg, let's start with your thoughts. How would you respond to that question? Oh, I've got no time for marketing, Greg. What do I do?
Yeah, and it's a very common question that comes up for consultants, and I've heard that one a lot. And typically, because consultants make money when they're doing the work. Now we have to be, earning our money through delivery, and as a owner of a small consulting firm, typically we're heavily involved in delivery as part of what we do. And so for us to be taking time out for marketing, it's almost a sacrifice of income generating time. So it's a real challenge when we're busy to take that time out and do marketing. And it's almost like a catch-22 though. If we don't take the time out for marketing, we're going to be busy now, but next month, where's our next client coming from? And I see this roller coaster ride of, highs and lows with the income and busy times, and then not much work to be done next month. So then we pay attention to marketing, but it's almost like that self-fulfilling prophecy of too busy to do marketing, but if you don't take that time to do the marketing, you're going to be quiet with not enough work to do. So yeah, how do we overcome that challenge? It's a real common problem, but the only way around that is to systemize marketing so it's not taking your time. I think the reason that we get into that roller coaster ride is that we leave marketing to something we do when we don't have enough work. And it's almost like, when we don't have enough work, then we need to pay attention to marketing. But if we actually want to preempt that problem, we need to decide and plan for marketing and make it a consistent process, and ideally a hands-off process where a lot of the marketing work is done automatically or by someone else, where you can delegate the lead generation part of it, so that the only time you need to get involved in marketing is when you've actually got an inquiry, and it's more of a sales role than a marketing role. So really the answer is systemizing your marketing, have it consistent, predictable, day by day, so that there are tasks happening that you can delegate to the right people to do that work, so that they're generating leads for you to follow up rather than having to generate those leads yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point, Greg. If we think of it like a system, it's almost, I like to think of it, the Australian Open's on at the moment, and you can bet your bottom dollar that all of the athletes are going to stretch before they go and hit the court, right?
Yeah.
That's something that they do every single time they stretch. I feel like it's the same thing with marketing. We have to do consistent activity every single day. Some days we don't feel like it, or we feel like we're swamped, or there's other priorities that come up. But unless we commit to doing marketing every single day, we're not going to get the consistency of results. And we're not going to be able to assess and review and improve our marketing, because that's really what we want to do. Marketing isn't necessarily just going to go bang with all of a sudden we're flooded with leads. Good marketing allows you to have a process where you're able to review what's worked. Okay, do more of that. That particular campaign hasn't worked. Why? What do we need to review? And for example, 12 months ago, I had a big problem. Business for me had slowed down significantly. I'd relied on word of mouth, and I'd parked marketing over here because there was so many things that were happening. In fact, my wife was pregnant, and there was 6 months to go until I had to become a dad and involve myself in that. So it was a tough time. But what I decided to do is I thought, look, I've got to take action. If I'm not going to be committed to marketing, then I'm going to go inwards, and things are not going to progress. So what I decided to do is look at, in conjunction with my coach, but look at what were the activities that make the most sense, but also what are the activities that I know that have generated me business before. So I doubled down on that and ensured that I worked at it every single day, and I had time in my diary to work on, say, the strategy piece in the morning, so 6 till 8 a.m., and then a particular time during the day where I'd actually execute. And what I found that by doing that consistently, I showed up on days where I thought, you know what, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it. I found that over time, and now for the first time in the business, I've actually got a pipeline of qualified leads, but that's because I made time to do it. So I think the point here is make it like part of your morning breakfast routine.
Yep.
You've got a routine. It's the same with marketing. You've got to stick at it, because that's when you're going to get results. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're absolutely right about making it a routine. And I think, I can almost hear in the background, some people saying, yeah, well, we tried that and it didn't work. And I think people in our profession, we're great consultants and we get referrals. So we've been lucky to build a business based on how we treat our clients and the results they get. So we get referrals, but the lack of scalability around, and lack of control over getting enough referrals to scale our business is where marketing needs to be consistent. Because we tend to leave marketing as a last resort, it's not something we're good at doing, so we don't pay much attention to it. We get into that syndrome of the roller coaster ride. So we realize, well, we can't keep that up. We need to get someone to help us with our marketing. So the typical response to that is, let's outsource it. Let's get someone who's a marketing specialist to come in. Well, maybe we know we've got to write social media posts, so we'll get a LinkedIn specialist to come and write our LinkedIn posts for us, and we'll get someone to do our LinkedIn marketing. They don't know anything about our business. Now, even if they're good and they'd take time to find out about your business and about your services, they typically don't have enough background or understanding of how to promote a professional service firm or a consulting firm. So they'll do typical posts, maybe not with the fluffy kittens that they might use it in other text contexts, but they'll have memes or posts that promote your services, which actually undermines your authority. And it really, some people say, well, they're promoting so much, they must be desperate. So we actually create a cycle where our marketing turns people off and really puts up the wrong impression about who we are and what we do. So we've got to be careful that we're actually marketing the right way. And I went through this in my own businesses, made all these mistakes. And it was only when I got a proper coach to show me how to market my consulting firm that I learnt the mistakes I was making and how to do it more effectively. And I think the biggest mistake consultants will make is outsourcing to people who don't really know, and therefore you get the wrong results. And we tried that, it didn't work. You really need to get the advice from someone who knows what they're doing to actually ever have any chance of getting good results with marketing your consulting firm.
Yep, you need a specialist in consulting marketing. And
Yep.
there's a couple of experts on the call today who are speaking. So that's a good reference point for you. So that's great. So systemizing your marketing, having dedicated time every day, and obviously doing the right activities. I think they're the three things that we've covered off so far.
Yeah. Mm.
We know that, so research tells us that the companies who engage in selling or marketing activities on social media get almost 200% a better return on the investment or the spend or the time. So what it tells us is that we know that as consulting firms, when we're thinking about the time frame and where do we start, I think the first thing that we need to consider is the digital space is where our customers are, and that's where they will continue to be. So if we're going to start somewhere, think about your social presence. Do you have a digital strategy? Are you visible to your ideal customers? What are you doing to promote yourself in a way that's educational? Those are sort of the questions that, if you want to consider, well, I don't have time, start there. Start with your online reputation. And that can be things like your website. We talk about it often on this podcast, but just ensure that you're actually talking about solving a particular problem and talk about your customers and make it about them. And then from a social point of view, see, we know that LinkedIn is a major opportunity for so many consulting firms. So just get clear on how you want to communicate what you do and your value. And then, as Greg said, either find someone in your team or find a specialist who specializes in consulting firm growth. So that's probably the two sort of areas.
Yeah. Even I think finding someone in your team is easy to delegate to someone on your team and hope they can do it right.
Of course.
But it's, again, they need the proper instruction and proper guidance to get it right. And I think, the two things that anyone marketing their business needs to be aware of is it's not about promoting who you are. It's not about promotion. It's about positioning. And we've talked about that a lot on this podcast. But by positioning, it means, the name of this podcast being the accepted authority. You become the accepted authority by demonstrating your expertise and showing people that you know about their situation specifically, and you know how to solve the problem that's foremost in their mind. So rather than promoting ourselves and our services, or our firm and our services, we need to be providing content that identifies, first of all, who we serve, who are they, so that gets their attention, but then what problem we solve, and talking about the problem so that they understand that we know what they're going through. It's more important for them to feel understood than for us to try to make them understand what we're doing. So when they feel understood, there's an automatic connection where they want to know more. And that implies that we know how to solve their problem. So our content, our marketing, which is all about, educational content in this context, should demonstrate more about, what we know about the problem and then how to solve it, rather than marketing anything about us and how great we are and how much our experience is, how many years we've been in business, what our qualifications are, all those alternative and typical, maybe historical ways that consulting firms have tried to market themselves, which I think is very ineffective.
So really what we're saying here is you've got to find time to market your firm, and you need to have a strategy before you go ahead and do it. And obviously we're a couple of consulting firm marketing strategists. So if you do need some assistance, reach out. We're happy to see and talk to you about what you've got at the moment and whether we can be a right fit for you. But if we sort of wrap it up there, Greg, I think that we've covered some really key information here. Be consistent, set some time to do marketing. Marketing is something that is a 3 month in advance. That's when you start to get some results, but you've got to do it every day. So keep that metaphor in mind, and just start. I think the last thing I'd add with the comment around how do we struggle to make time. Potentially in consulting environments, there are perfectionists personas. Things have to be right. Before I do anything, we've got to overcome that and just think, oh, we've just got to start. We've just got to put it out there, and we get feedback along the way. It's like building a minimum viable product. We know in Agile and in the different frameworks, we've just got to get it out the door. So that's probably the last thing. Just to me, this is all really around mindset. If you're asking yourself, or if you're complaining in your mind, thinking, "Oh, I've got no time to do marketing," A, you haven't considered it a priority, but also B, I think there's something there that's stopping you, a little voice saying, "Well, it's not perfect, so I'm not going to put it out there. And until it's perfect, then I can put it out there." But guess what? 3 months later, and you'll still be in the same position, because I used to be that person as well. And I'm sure, Greg, with your finance background, things needed to be exact back in the day. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for your time and your listening. Greg, where can we find you if we want to connect with you?
I think finding me on LinkedIn and Facebook, just search for Greg Roworth, and also on my website at businessflightpath.com. But just to go there, I think just look at those as an example of how to do your marketing, because we practice what we preach here. We're not saying anything that we don't do ourselves. So the example of how to find time for marketing, those 3 places, you'll see how I approach my marketing and how really I don't have to spend much time creating that content and doing my marketing, because it's systemized and it's automated, and it brings me leads, where the only time I really need to do, apart from initial content creation, is speak with people who are already motivated to want to work with me.
Awesome. You can find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Marmont, or the website is concurve.com.au. This has been the Accepted Authority podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time.